Rewind-A-Dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly as we hear from Jon and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know.
Here we are, everyone, for Rewind-A-Dynamite, the Nashville edition of the show, as we're going to the pinnacle with the company that once housed the quite forgotten group, the Pinnacle.
That is correct.
Remember
Yes.
them? Yes.
I forgot until you just mentioned them.
There have been many
group
members? Casualties in AEW's history, many of them involving MJF.
Name the members.
Oh, God. MJF, FTR,
Yeah, I believe so.
Spears in there?
I'm going to say yes. Yes. The answer is yes. The
Was
answer
there
is
anyone
yes.
else?
Well, one
Wardlow in
one
it?
more. Yeah. You can't have MJF without Wardlow. And technically Tully Blanchard attached to FTR.
Oh, yes, Tully as well. Yeah. Short-lived, but yes.
We're all awaiting that big comeback.
Folks, we just went through all of the news of the day. If you want to check out the XL version of Rewind-A-Dynamite, we went through the debut of Blank, a.k.a. Mike Santana, on NXT on Tuesday night. And where does our man Naraku stand in the NXT pecking order? Plus, we go through the last two nights of the G1 Climax happening on Tuesday and Wednesday with a rundown of those matches. Andreas Hale being part of the ESPN cuts, our thoughts about that. AEW hosting a fan fest in London over All In Weekend. And we have got the Righteous Deletion coming up on Impact on Thursday night on AMC.
I'll check it out. It sounds cool.
Yes.
Have fun with it.
Yeah. It should be something. They're coming off a great number. So we'll see if they can duplicate that or if last week was just some weird aberration in the bizarre panel, the big data plus panel chaos
Thing. Okay.
messiness.
Where are we at with all that? Or what is the recognized?
There's going to be an
metric?
update shortly that's going to change everything again. So I mean, it's very unreliable at the moment. But like AEW is doing some incredible numbers right now. Impact just did this, their highest on AMC last week. So I mean,
so what is that the result of? Like what's been changed to allow for
it's
that?
more so like. If you look at Impact's number, for instance, like it's this huge viewership figure. It was like 286,000 viewers. But the 18 to 49, it was like a 0.03. So it tells you it's older viewers that are making this big number. AEW is even tougher because they're doing these great numbers and we don't know what HBO Max is doing. So there is a very conceivable way that AEW has been doing its best numbers in years these last couple of weeks. But without us knowing the exact threshold that it's hitting because of the HBO Max factor. But even just looking at their television numbers, they are doing well. Like SmackDown was number 1 on Friday night. So it's,
So if you're AEW, you're telling Nielsen, don't change anything. We're happy. Keep this as it is.
Well, the thing is, if they were to go to the older method, these numbers would be even higher if it was under the old just like panel number. But it's been lowered, but it's still doing well by current standards. So make that what you will. We also do want to let people know that we have just dropped our latest edition of the Double Shot, chatting about Necro Butcher and Samoa Joe.
Oh, yeah.
And Samoa Joe was off for a booty call in Philadelphia and ended up with one of the most remembered matches in IWA Mid-South history.
That seems to be like just maybe a quick sort of like, online look. That seems to be the most shared clip from this episode so far. I'm
not surprised.
Samoa Joe talking about the real reason why he took the Necro Butcher booking was to, see a girl, now his wife. What if it wasn't his? What if it didn't end up being his wife? That'd be a bit more awkward.
This turned her off. This is a no-go.
So we have Samoa Joe's wife to thank for this incredible match that, Dark Side of the Ring, I thought, did a very strong job of profiling. It's only a 10-minute match, but there's so much that I think goes into the details of it and the before and the after of the match that I think certainly warrants the 44-minute runtime. So if you're curious, listen to us talk about it. You can even watch the match for free right now on YouTube, of course.
Yes, and Darkside did put out on their socials asking for suggestions for other matches.
Cool.
And it's always fun watching wrestlers nominate their own matches that they were involved in. So,
like, what have you seen?
Oh, geez.
Call anybody out.
Janela suggested the Invisible Man versus the Invisible Stan, which is, I think he was doing it tongue in cheek. I would love a documentary on that match.
Yeah.
Again, with Bryce.
I mean,
maybe we just want the dark side on Bryce. Okay. And all the shit he's
how
been
about a whole
with.
season on Bryce Remsburg? Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bryce is right.
I would love that. Now, like 44 minutes of it, I guess I wonder.
The Invisible Man and yeah, I would like a 13-minute Untold on that perhaps. But
that'd be lovely.
Yes, okay. I'm sure you could go down the rabbit hole of GCW controversies and flesh out.
I feel like we're like 10 years away, maybe like season 15 or like season 17.
Yeah. How about a dark side on all these indie companies and how they handled COVID? Too fresh?
Well, there's a lot you could definitely get from like the 2000s. Like you could do Speaking Out. You could do a whole lot of topics that are there. Yeah.
I mean, you could do the whole industry on COVID. I mean, that's
good.
Yeah, that's the money right there. A COVID season. All right. Well, Wai and I have our thoughts. It's about an hour-long show that we did today, so that's up for all members on the Post Wrestling Cafe. Wai, what was the discussion and your thoughts on the wellness policy this week?
So I would say this was like maybe one of the episodes we were, at least like me and Neil, were a little bit more nervous about than usual because it deals with such a serious topic and there's just kind of no easy way to like really transition to it. But, the wellness policy to me like has always been a show about like maybe trying to tackle subjects that certainly like men don't really get to talk about on a major like sort of like forum. Or at least even with each other. And this is one of those. This is a podcast profiling Sad Dads Club, which is run by a friend of Jordan Goodman's, Rob Ryder, who, has created a club for men, fathers dealing with the loss of children. And that can come in the form of like, many different forms, of course. So it's, an incredibly like maybe touchy subject, but I think all the more reason why like this conversation was, I think, very like enlightening and also important for us to cover on a platform like ours even. So if it's a topic that interests you, if you simply want to learn about it, and if you want to learn about like maybe somebody's experience in parenthood, having to deal with probably the toughest thing that anybody can, this was, I think, a really interesting conversation. So, go to postwrestlingcafe.com. That's available for free. Also on our YouTube as well.
I really appreciate you guys, tackling the topics like this. It's obviously a really, really heavy one to cover. So that is up for everyone that wants to check that out. And we will be back this weekend, Sunday night after Redemption. For those on the Cafe, we will be doing a preview of Redemption after we get through Dynamite. So let's get into the show from Nashville. We had backstage Ospreay and Omega previewing their trios match, where Will mentions that him and Kenny are undefeated as a team. And they're both kind of joking with one another that if the other needs a rest from their injuries, they can pick up the slack. And Omega then comes in, noting the tension in the room.
Moxley does. Moxley notes.
Moxley does. Kevin Knight and Darby Allin starts off the show, and we get the tidbit that their match, where Darby was hospitalized after the Continental Classic match, was in this building last November, which is the last time they were here. So that was noted by Renee Paquette.
I imagine Tony booked this match maybe in part due to that fact, right? Like he seems like somebody who
I would bet 100% he knew that.
He knows these stats so well that it's like something that I would say nobody else would have ever known. They didn't even really make it a big deal last week, this little thing. So I guess maybe it just adds a little bit of poetry to it.
We also have the note that they are 1-1 in past singles contests. So Darby starts off with a tope before the bell even rings and does this insane elbow drop into the timekeepers section over a table before they get into the ring, and then it officially begins. They make their way. We have the elevated ramp here in the Pinnacle, and Darby gets shoved off said ramp and crotched onto the barricade, prompting Taz to observe that he's going to, quote, need some ice water on his gimmick.
Yeah, sure. A lot of ice water going around in the AEW locker room as a result of the ALS challenge that's been coming back for a Rebel. Yeah.
That was quite the segue. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's plenty to go around for Darby's gimmick. Darby gets catapulted underneath the steps, and this cuts him open over the right eye as our sleuth Taz was bound and determined to find out where this cut originated from. And Darby responds with a bunch of code reds and a coffin drop to the floor. He also places Kevin Knight's arm inside of the post and starts elbowing it. And we get a ref bump. Paul Turner goes down, and Knight grabs the belt, but Darby ducks, hits the Scorpion Death Drop, and my favorite spot in pro wrestling, he grabs the belt. He looks at the belt. He's like, no, I can't do it. And he throws it away. And instead, the coffin drop gets stopped. Knight uses a belt shot, and then he climbs up, and the move that took out Darby from the Continental Classic is hit. The coast-to-coast drop kick into the UFO splash, and Kevin Knight wins like 90% clean. This was like Sonata in the G1 today in 11 minutes and 20 seconds.
I guess for a heel by modern standards, what's a little
what's a belt shot? Yeah. And the only finish you could do, like Knight needs as much as you can going into this pay-per-view. So the right finish to go with here, and overall like a pretty strong match that the two had to kick off Dynamite.
Darby's also like, coming off of like the title reign, like, like pretty high ranking, but also somebody who could still afford losses and still be Darby Allin. Like at this point, I feel like he's kind of bulletproof, right?
He's not on the pay-per-view, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not yet. He will.
Yeah, not yet.
Probably get announced.
We have 8 matches. Oh, sorry. We have 10 matches.
Okay. Well, plenty of room still. Entertaining match. Like maybe if we're comparing it to like Darby Allin standards of 2026, maybe a bit tamer certainly, but still spectacular with like a number of like pretty strong dives. The coast to coast drop kick from Kevin Knight, of course, that catapult into the steps. I think Knight is doing a good job, like bringing that heel cocky energy in this role. He feels like he's very accustomed to it, in a short amount of time. But I did find like the whole ref bump and the title thing a little bit cliche and maybe too easy for my higher expectations for the both of these two. But you can't argue that it was still effective, of course. They also had a plot point here about Knight wanting to prove that he could do this, beat Darby Allin without the help of the Don Callis family.
That's right. We didn't have any members of the Don Callis family, and that would set the stage for the post-match where Kyle Fletcher comes out, followed by Okada, and we come back from break, and Renee is in the ring. The whole Don Callis family is out, and we get a brief Mark Davis speaking part on this show. And he makes reference to Andrade, and this whole place chants, "How you know?" And Kevin Knight says he's going to tell you how he knows I'm going to become Jet 2 belts at Redemption. And we build up this tension between Knight and Fletcher, with Kyle confronting him and states that I don't need the Don Callis family either. And Kyle's going to make sure that they're all banned from ringside, not just on Sunday for his match with Bandito, but also in this tag match coming up next. So that sets up Fletcher and Okada taking on Brodito. They get the heat on Brodito early, and eventually, the tag is made to Brody. He hits a DVD to Fletcher on the edge of the apron, and Bandito does a cabrata when he comes back in, and upside down gets super kicked, and Bandito counters into a destroyer off of that. Okada's in for the save, stops a 21 plex, and then Bandito hits a pop-up, then a frog splash, and Fletcher kicks out at 2. They try for the monkey flip 450. That's stopped by an Okada drop kick, and then we get the first of many miscommunication spots of the night as Okada misses the Rainmaker, taking out Kyle, and Brody takes out Okada with a suicide dive, leaving Bandito to hit the 21 plex, pinning Kyle Fletcher in 13 minutes and 22 seconds ahead of their championship match on Sunday. And then Kyle screams, blaming Okada for the loss, and Okada yelling, "I'm so sorry."
I love it. I love Okada's sarcasm. Booking was very simple, but like again, very effective and very strong here, getting a lot of things in order. You know, challenger of course beats champion to earn credibility heading to the match. You also continue to build Brodito as a tag team threat here with a series of wins, and it really does feel like they're setting up something like significant for them at Wembley. So how they might fit into like a potential Cope and Cage, championship reign with like the Bucks challenging, obviously. I don't know exactly, but
I kind of feel we're getting, because I thought we would get Copeland and Cage against the Bucks earlier. It kind of feels like that's going to be the London match.
Yeah, certainly.
The first time ever. And you're right. Like, I did like just the psychology that your former tag champions, like, they should be better in this tag scenario. And, Bandito gets to do his monthly job on the pay-per-view.
But of course, like you're building to Okada and Fletcher, and presumably Takeshita in their destination for All In Wembley, or over what we may assume to be an international title match in a 3-way. So, I think all of that was like serviced here very well. Again, though, I mean, because they're already telling these further stories, it does kind of make these matches happening on Sunday feel quite predictable. But the draw for me is not necessarily whether or not Bandito will beat Kyle Fletcher for the championship. It's simply seeing Bandito versus Kyle Fletcher on the pay-per-view.
Yeah. And I mean, there is a reason to beat Brodito for the third pay-per-view in a row, because they're obviously building towards like a 4-way for the ROH title.
I don't think that exists.
We're going to get Swerve, Moxley, and Kyle Fletcher all going for the ROH title after they each respectively beat Brodito on
that title match doesn't exist, nor does Hechicero CMLL heavyweight champion.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. No, we're getting Omega and Hechicero.
Nor the Artist of Stardom championship. So basically, everything is
it's
matter.
Like it's the blessing and the curse. They're acknowledging all these belts on their shows, but it's like
you're going to lose. Yeah.
The Don Callis family, they are about to attack Brodito, but they get stopped by Andrade, and man, is this guy over. Like, just shows up in his Andrade attire, and the place goes wild for him. Like, this guy, we say it every week, but man, his star is very bright at the moment. I think he should just beat Mark Davis for this title, because it just feels like they have something with Andrade. Not that the national title is the be-all, end-all, but it really feels like he's got a lot of momentum. I actually would have preferred, if he was going to win this belt or any belt, I would actually wish they had waited for Mexico City in 2 weeks instead of Montreal. But you can still do something big with him.
Mexico City is in 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks. That's Grand Slam, and then that's heading to All In.
Yeah, a few weeks before All In.
Okay. Well, what do you see being Andrade's All In match?
All In match?
Because, like, I mean, MJF is like sort of a lingering thing,
MJF is the big question mark, because I could see MJF with Hangman, I could see MJF with Andrade, but Hangman is also a question mark. Like, if you miss that collision, he doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
Like, it's just, it feels like it was just a fly-by-night, let's put Hangman on this show because we have no plans for him. We don't know if he's ready. Whatever it is, he's not figured into anything at the moment. Maybe after this pay-per-view. But it's like it was such a weird handling of that return.
Could be that they're saving him for a surprise, but like if you have Hangman available, I don't know why like you wouldn't announce it. I think he would be. I mean, him in a match would be a difference maker. And
you're saying a surprise like he shows up on Sunday?
Yeah, possibly. But I think this card really could have used him. Like in a match,
Yeah, I mean, they're down. There's no Hangman. There's no MJF on the show.
No Swerve. No Mercedes.
Yeah, no Swerve. No Mercedes. You're right. Like Swerve has also kind of disappeared as well from this pay-per-view cycle. Mick Foley hosts the.
You have a Painmaker video. Yeah, you did not catch this.
I noted it. There was a Painmaker video. Man, dude, this is just being excoriated. This return of the Painmaker by most.
Pain is shocking and agonizing, but it's temporary until it embeds inside you like a haunted soul. I have become this pain. I am a wound that never heals, a scar that never seals. I am the voice that says, run away. This is Chris Jericho.
Now, was that Chris Jericho or was that track 7 on the Pat McAfee album?
You know what? Spoken word. I think those lines are kind of fire. But no, this was a Chris Jericho promo, and I'm sorry, like this character is really hard to buy. coming from Chris Jericho. Like, he's a guy who maybe in the past has like shown that he could be serious, of course, but I don't think he could do dark and spooky, which is what it feels like, the Paymaker character is for him. Instead, it's really just kind of coming across like high schooler who's like found the Cure record collection for like older brother and is trying to like write poetry like for his art class, and I think it's pretty bad. Again, the match could save it, but I think these segments are pretty awful.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the power drill. That's going to be the key to this match.
He has to use it. Mm-hmm.
Mick Foley welcomes all the sickos and hosts the face-to-face between Tekla and Willow Nightingale. So he brings both of them out. Tekla is wearing her Artist of Stardom title that she won with the Sisters of Sin over the weekend. So she's got her 2 belts on. Willow states it's her dream to become the AEW Women's Champion. And Tekla says that Willow wears a mask. You are poisoned on the inside. I'm going to beat that poison out of you to show how ugly you really are, which is some deep stuff. Willow says that this toxic act is just a facade. You talk big because you feel so small. And she actually does a pretty good Tekla impression here. And Mick, who's out here in his Santa attire in the middle of July, says he sees a lot of himself in Willow Nightingale because both of us were champions on TBS and we both smile through pain. But then Tekla tells Mick to shut up, and man, did this crowd take ownership of Mick Foley. And they were livid that Tekla would shut down Mick here, a TBS champion back in the early 90s. And Willow then states that Tekla is the one acting like a dumb bitch. So Willow calls Mick her favorite. I like Mick because he will do sick and twisted things in the ring to win. And both of us, Tekla, have everything to lose at Redemption because the winner will ensure that they're going to Wembley Stadium. Tekla tells her that in your world, I'm going to piss on your clouds and tell you to smile anyway. As she slaps Willow, and Mick tries to separate them, but Tekla just nails Willow with a microphone shot and then just goes after Willow, and Mick is not going to take a step forward. He suddenly became Jalen Brunson. He's like, I can't get involved here at all. So Tekla takes off her belt, goes to whip Willow, but she takes the pounce. And I like the segment. I thought that they both had some good promos here, and I like the fact that we did, it was... Mick was fine in the segment, but it was more so Tekla and Willow that I thought, they added some importance to this match on Sunday. And you can argue that this is one of the matches that has some stakes to it because it sets up Mercedes' opponent for next month.
I think this is the one match on the show where audiences would be expecting title change, right? Because of the Mercedes Willow match that already seems to be lined out. So I think like maybe of the card, this seems to be maybe the most relevant to like changing something at All In. I thought like the promos were pretty strong from the both of them. I think Willow especially, like given the nature of like her injury, she hasn't really had that much time to like be in this sort of spotlight. Like if she had been a part of the Owen, I imagine I think her story leading up to Wembley would be that much like stronger. I think he would have told like her sort of run up to whatever. Like
she'd be doing this promo about this is my dream to win this title at the biggest show instead of she's winning at the show before the big show.
And so she now has to like kind of cram a lot of that like importance into a short amount of time. She's also somebody who I would like suggest hasn't really been proven as like a top level promo yet. Like I think she cuts like passable promos, but like I don't think she's like certainly like not on the level of like a Tekla. Now at the same time, like she's better than Statlander, so like that to me already like makes her sort of like capable of this, and also like she has the sort of like support of the audience, which means more I think than anything. But like I think she had to also impress here, and I think like she got there by the end. Got to like a high enough level. I want to see more of her talk like this. Tekla though, I mean, it's her personality that really carries the segment, and. Though I think most are expecting Willow to win, I think there's a very strong argument to like keeping Tekla in the mix and possibly turning this into a 3-way because, again, Tekla is just I think so strong as a pure heel. I think the program between Mercedes and Willow would really benefit from her. I also think you could possibly save Willow's big win for a bigger stage rather than just having it be at Redemption and her heading into Wembley as a challenger, as a defender, which I don't think is as strong, you know?
Yeah, and this is also one that I prefer the singles match, but it's one you could see the three-way direction as well.
Yep.
Given that. Then there was a video for Hikaru Shida and Maya World, who will meet for the TBS title at Redemption. Hikaru calling her a nobody. And Maya World counters by stating, I took your kendo stick. Now I'm going to take your title. Not quite the same urgency as the prior segment, but that's our story.
No, I mean, I think Athena is still like in the distance from her, but like in the meantime, they're giving Maya World like like a big match on like a big singles match on pay-per-view to kind of like carry on her momentum, you could say. Certainly not. I hope likely
this
to win.
Is not her big title win. This just does not feel like a. But we will get on Collision Saturday Tekla and Hikaru against Willow Nightingale and Maya World, with the respective singles matches happening the next night. Jay White, his first singles match in 15 months, taking on Clark Connors. Jay White hit a body shot, and Connors sells this pretty dramatically. Connors then goes to the eyes. He misses a spear and just takes out this chair. He just runs full force into this thing. Uranage by Jay White, and then Connors goes for the gore, is caught with the Blade Runner. Connors blocks that, and then we see another attempt at the spear, and this time Jay White locks him for what looks like a front chancery and kind of rolls him. It's kind of like a Darce choke and submits Clark Connors in 12 minutes and 34 seconds.
Kind of like an anaconda, but with like a full bridge. It's really cool. And like whenever a wrestler returns and they debut a new finisher, I think you always applaud that because it's just like it signals just a fresh coat of paint. And in this case, bonus points for the move looking awesome. As a submission, like it's way better than what is it, the Tanahashi tap out, like which was I think like his last finisher. And as a sort of like addition to his repertoire, I think it's fucking awesome. So it has like, it's still a bit off for me to watch Jay White as a babyface. I just feel like his wrestling style, like that sort of like subtle, more counter wrestling thing he does is a lot more like suited for a sneaky heel. It's also the type of wrestling that I don't know if it's immediately appreciated by people watching live without the aid of like commentary, perhaps pointing out some of the intricacies. But I certainly found it pretty captivating to watch. He's also not like a clean cut babyface, nor should he be. He should be the type of like anti-hero who's not afraid to like maybe be a little bit edgy and like be a little bit sneaky, like en route to victory from time to time.
What do you think about Jay White in the looser fitting pants?
I think okay. Yeah, fine. Sure. More fan friendly, I guess. Yeah. Pants.
He hits the Blade Runner to Connors after Connors gets to his feet. David Finlay runs out with a shillelagh shot and gets chased away by the Bang Bang Gang with Juice holding a chain. And this would lead to the Bang Bang Gang issuing a challenge for a double chain tag match at the pay-per-view, which has been added, which will be Jay and Juice Robinson against Finlay and Connors.
Right. I think like the Dogs, especially with Kid out, like I feel like they could use more members, right? Like,
well, one's busy.
Yeah, one's busy with the G1, but I mean that leaves an open spot for like a tag team or something. I'm sure they could. They only have 3 people in this faction, okay? Like we're talking about like in AEW, there's like an average of like 5, 6, 7 guys.
There's only one dog.
Yeah, he's on the other show. He's
working on him.
He's kind of busy. I'm sure he'd love to be a part of something other than the.
What about Rick? Rick's around.
He might be free. Yeah, I don't know if they welcome him here.
Yeah, I don't know what that response would be like. Copeland and Cage cut a promo. I swear to God, like their segments are just we talk and then we get the shit beaten out of each other and we're left unconscious. I swear they've been laid out like 3 times over the last month, and that's what happened here at the hands of Pac and Claudio. Why? Because Pac was so insulted that Cope and Cage challenged them to a tag match, and having the audacity to challenge us, I guess because they thought we'd be easy challengers and they will prove who they are on Sunday. dude, for like Copeland and Cage and being some of the, I'll just say the Canadians on this show between Cage, Copeland, Speedball
is nothing.
And Chris Jericho. I'm just saying, like the creative among minus Omega, it's been very lacking. I will say this does not like it's a match on the pay-per-view. That's all this is.
I'm shocked Speedball.
He's on the show. They've added a ladder match that he's going to be in.
What's that? What's the match?
When
did they add that?
I think this was on Collision, but there's going to be a 6-way ladder match where the winner gets an international title shot with Jack Perry, Beast Mortos, Commander Speedball, and then there's going to be a pair of qualifying matches on Collision for the last 2 members, which will probably
6-man ladder match for the number 1 contender for the international title. Okay,
for Kyle Fletcher, yeah, which you could totally see Speedball winning this, but
Speedball, Perry, Mortos, Commander. And then either Fox or Wayne.
That'll be Wayne. It'll be Wayne and Leo Rush. I'm sure.
Rush. Yeah. Okay.
That would be my thought.
Well, that looks great. It's just like, man, like you're going to be announcing that on 1 day's notice.
24 hours.
Man, what the fuck? Especially for Speedball, like this, he's the one guy from Montreal on this show, you know, and I just like I would have expected a lot more from him. Again, I don't know if like Knight was originally his destination.
I bet he was. Like we know it was Kenny and MJF on this show, and I could totally have seen like Knight and Speedball being on this show, and Speedball's sort of odd man out in this equation.
Yeah, right.
You get to do a ladder match.
So who should win? Like we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but like international
in the ladder match, I could see Perry or Speedball winning, and I would lean towards Speedball being where they are, and Kyle and Speedball.
Right,
that's a great TV match.
TV, right? Okay.
Yeah, unless you were going to go with one of the luchadors for Grand Slam Mexico, but I just think given, I would say Perry or Speedball would be the likely winners there. Leo Rush could be entertaining in that match.
Leo Rush and Fletcher, but then like, what's the point of it though?
No, I'm just saying Leo Rush could be entertaining in the match, not that he wins, just that character in a ladder match. Tony Khan also noted that Mystico was supposed to be on the pay-per-view, but he has not been medically cleared. So it looks like that was something that was going to be part of the show. Divine Dominion against the Sisters of Sin, no DQ match. And the Sisters of Sin jump them at the beginning. We have chairs and tables out. And Sky Blue attacks both of them with kendo stick shots. Julia then misses, and we are told she has some kind of object, whether it be a screwdriver or something, and nails Sky Blue with this object. And the idea was Sky Blue, I guess, was going to bleed buckets. And what we got was this bloodline across her hairline that was like dry. There was like no flow to this at all. It was like the saddest blade job you have seen, where I'm sure she was banking on like just being Necro Butcher in this match.
Yeah, really. It maybe it gives you appreciation for like how well people can cut themselves.
It's an art.
Yeah, it really is.
Yes. So we continued here. She also got a chair bashed in her head, but that did not open up the wound anymore. There's a table set up on the stage. The table was the most over thing here. And Bane is on top of these chairs and gets double team powerbomb through the table. Divine Dominion then take a pair of DDTs on top of the belts. But Bane comes back, choke slamming Sky Blue off the apron through a table. And we see Julia Hart with an octopus submission. Bane turns it into a tombstone, and Divine Dominion end by double choke slamming Hart in 12 minutes and 45 seconds.
So I thought it was an okay match. I thought it was made entertaining by like the table spots and just like the variety that they were able to like, use with the weapons and everything. I did feel like it fell short in execution in some areas, and like maybe the one that stands out the most is just the blade job, which I feel like would have added a lot of intensity to everything here. Instead, it just kind of felt like something that, just didn't really live up to what they were planning. I also think like Blue and Hart, I was looking for a lot more like speedy offense from the two of them to like make them feel like they have something to offer that can balance, the size disadvantage with Divine Dominion. And I'm still like sensing some level of hesitation like in their wrestling and to me, it just like was made a little bit apparent in this match. I also think like they had a spot where like the four of them all had their championships, and they were all about to use it to each other, and then they did the whole thing that like with each other ducking one another, but then Divine Dominion kind of win that battle. Bane's still holding on to her belt though, so she had a clear shot at one of these two, and for whatever reason just decides to drop it because maybe she
has a conscience. She realized I can't do it.
Guy. So I thought it was like okay, but maybe not perfect.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those classic women's hardcore matches that come at the end of like a 4-hour marathon taping that Chris Statlander is usually thrust upon. So it wasn't at that level. We get the Bang Bang Gang issuing the challenge for the chain match, and concluding the show is the trios contest: Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, and Jon Moxley against Brian Cage, Jake Doyle, and Hechicero. Your CMLL heavyweight champion, Hechicero. And we have tension at the beginning with Omega and Moxley, where the two will not tag each other, but then reluctantly, Moxley does tag Omega. And we get a...
It seems like more hesitation from Omega's side, right? Like he remembers like the war with the Death Riders. Maybe he's a lot more reluctant to accept Mox.
Well, Ospreay comes in, and he hits the stun dog and teases a space-flying tiger drop that's cut off with Jake Doyle, avalanching him. Cage then suplexes Omega and Ospreay together, and just knowing these guys' necks and stuff, doing that double vertical, I'd be like, oh my God, a lot of faith you're putting in this guy. There's always one guy that just gets crowned taking one of these. But anyway, Cage gets hit with a "You Can't Escape." F5 is hit by Brian Cage, and then Hechicero works an inverted figure four onto Kenny Omega, who's crawling towards Moxley. And Moxley just comes in, stomps Hechicero to break the submission, and we get Omega then saving Moxley from a vertical suplex, and we get Omega and Moxley working together. And Ospreay joins in. They go 3-on-1 on Hechicero. Moxley then is holding Hechicero. Omega misses with the knee and drills Moxley. Now, my only complaint is this was our third miscommunication spot on the show. And I kind of get with Fletcher and Okada, that was part of the match. For Sky Blue and Julia Hart, Sky Blue could have got busted open from anything. And it just felt like overkill of these miscommunication spots with the tag partners, especially when you were doing it in your main event here for your big players. So that was my nitpick. Moxley returns, stops Hechicero on top. There's double Ranas by Omega and Ospreay, and a combination hidden blade V-trigger by Ospreay and Kenny, with Kenny pinning Hechicero, setting up Grand Slam Mexico, All in London. What is Hechicero three-way at Wembley in the table in the cards?
Is back clearly.
Yeah. 14 minutes and 20 seconds. This one goes.
I thought it was a lot of fun, as you would often expect with like just the talent of this caliber. But this one I appreciated. I think more for its like clarity of storytelling. It's really easy to understand like what the character dynamics are, even if you're just kind of stepping into this. Kenny, his history with Mox, being reluctant initially, but then as the match progresses, somehow Moxley earning Kenny's trust, and now Kenny like really being into maybe even being a Death Rider, joining in on like those forever clotheslines. So all of that was, I think, a lot of fun to watch. Before, of course, it all collapses with the friendly fire spot. So it continues to make you wonder like what exactly Moxley's role is in this main event heading to Wembley.
Do you think that Moxley has taken too much of an oversized role in this main event buildup?
I don't, because I think like he's like the main source of tension here. Like, otherwise you just have like a friendly between like Ospreay and Omega without that much interest, certainly to fill the television, right? The fact that like it's now Ospreay siding with somebody that Kenny maybe prior to this like has hated in the past, I think like makes it a lot more interesting. And it also makes you wonder what exactly Jon Moxley is, like what he's got up his sleeve. Why is he so invested in Will Ospreay? It carries that on as well.
Omega offers his hand to Moxley, but Moxley turns it down, and they go nose to nose. Ospreay gets between them. Omega knocks down Will. So the Young Bucks are out, and a fight ensues with the Bucks brawling with Ospreay and Moxley ahead of their tag match on Sunday. Ospreay then elbows Omega by mistake. Out come RPG Vice, and they take a pair of Snapdragons, and Kenny is about to deliver a V-trigger to both of them
They put, by the way, like Trent and Rocky in the most amusing like position I've ever
the setup
seen.
for the V-trigger?
Yeah. Like,
they were basically
ridiculous.
like cuddling one another on the rope together because they had to be in a believable target zone for Kenny to hit both of them with one knee.
But like the physics would not allow for two human beings to be stacked this way. But it just like it furthers like I don't know that like Roppongi Vice they're really the jesters of this group.
They understand their role. Yeah. But you're thinking he's just going to hit the V-trigger when out of nowhere, Kevin Knight flies into this ring with a belt shot that bludgeons Kenny. This is between Sky Blue and her dried blood and Kenny waiting till like literally the last 20 seconds of the show. This was quite the utilization of blood here. And Kevin Knight just stands tall with both belts going into Sunday.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat thinks that this might have been Hardway. Like it seems almost like too perfect timing for something like that. But I mean, no, I think there's
he got a lot more flow going on this particular one.
Yeah. In other cases, I mean, it certainly added to the closing visual, and I think like again, this is a main event that needs these sort of intense, closing moments, because otherwise I don't think there's that much intrigue other than just like a great wrestling match that you're having to pay however much you're paying for.
I feel more towards that conclusion here. It's like I don't doubt that these two are gonna I think Kenny is gonna want to go out there and make that put on the performance of all performances to make this guy. Like I think they are going to just tear it up here. But if you're asking me, does this feel like a pay-per-view main event? It does not to me.
No.
Like this pay-per-view, like whatever. Like they had to shift course on this pay-per-view. I think in hindsight, if this was the card, they would probably not be running this pay-per-view. This is going to be the real test of what the AEW brand means, because it's a tremendous card on paper. But I do feel that this is going to be the one that what is the momentum of their pay-per-views? Does your audience just it's an automatic buy because it's an AEW pay-per-view.
Yeah, but even to that end, I am a little disappointed because I think even without your world title match being a believable possible change, I think we've seen enough creativity in Tony's booking for these pay-per-views that he could have created something that feels a lot more like a spectacle that you can't miss, right? And this show thus far, unless they announce something really big on Collision,
it's not. This is it. Way. This is. I know
the
you're holding
Rougeaus will be wrestling.
Oh, that's right. Jacques is going to get involved with. Is a bandito.
Yeah. I just
what if Aleister Black shows up with Jacques?
And why do you bring him up? Because
I don't know. I just am. That's why.
I was looking for something like on the level of I don't know, like a lights out something. It's just something that feels like it could be wow, anything goes. Even if we're not getting a title change, I gotta watch this match. I don't think the show really has that so far. It doesn't really seem to it's going to be great wrestling. Fletcher Bandito is going to be awesome. Omega Knight is going to be awesome. Bucks versus Ospreay
Moxley
and
Ospreay.
Yeah, that should be awesome. But it's not so much above the level of anticipation I would have for an edition of Dynamite. And I think for a pay-per-view, you need to be several steps above that.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the more interesting numbers to see what they can pull for what does feel like a transitional show before All In next month and such. But I wouldn't say this was like a home run go home show. I can't say at the end of it was wow, they really just hit on all cylinders to really build up this pay-per-view. I think if you're intrigued by the card, then that's going to sell you. But if you're looking for that, man, I can't miss this show, I can't say tonight's show would have got you over that level. It's some really great matches, but it does kind of feel like a bit of a holdover show, which it does tell you the level we're talking about of the expectation on pay-per-views. But that's kind of the blessing and the curse that AEW has set this ridiculously high standard that's the curse of the bar that you have to be able to maintain, not just quality-wise, but also interest-wise. That is what sells a pay-per-view, is the interest, not the end result. I'm sure Sunday night, everyone's going to be raving about this show, but it's the interest before the show, not after the show.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. Even as far as like segments go, I don't think there were good segments, but like there weren't even like I would say any like sort of home run.
No,
gotta see the match.
Like I liked Willow and Tekla together, but it wasn't as though it was anything like the hitting it out of the park. That this can't miss program. But we're going to sign off on the YouTube channel, but we will be going through the pay-per-view on the XL edition of the show. So consider becoming a member. PostWrestlingCafe.com. We are in the midst of our G1 coverage. We're going to be soon to be releasing the latest G1 show with Bruce Lord and Kate from Montreal. We also have a book club coming out tomorrow where Neil Flanagan and I are going to be discussing regime change inside the imperial presidency of Donald Trump, which Wai has been busy reading as we speak.
I'll be trying to finish right before I listen, or maybe I'll just listen.
Okay. Well, always a great excuse to listen to that as well. Plus, we have our double shots out covering each episode of Dark Side of the Ring this season. And next week, we'll be starting our reviews of WWE Unreal Season 3.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm back. Don't tell anybody, but I'm here. Okay. Goodbye, everyone on the YouTube channel.